Ladies, let me tell you something real tonight, something a lot of people don't want to say out loud. Confusion is not romance. Mixed signals are not mystery. And I don't know is not an answer you should be living with. Because when a man truly likes you, you won't be standing in front of your phone rereading messages, asking your friends, praying for a sign, or Googling titles like this one. Real interest doesn't whisper, it shows up loud. And clear confusion is not attraction. And too many people mistake emotional uncertainty for excitement. They tell themselves that the butterflies in their stomach are a sign of chemistry, when in reality those butterflies are anxiety caused by inconsistency. Real attraction does not leave you second-guessing every interaction. It does not make you analyze tone, timing, or silence as if you're solving a puzzle. When someone genuinely likes you, their presence in your life feels steady, not shaky. You may not know every detail about where things are going yet, but you know where you stand today. Confusion usually begins when words and actions don't match. He says he enjoys talking to you, but days go by without effort. He flirts, then pulls back. He shows interest, then acts distant. That push and pull creates emotional noise. And many people confuse that noise with depth. But attraction that is real simplifies your emotional world. It doesn't complicate it. It removes doubt instead of creating more of it. If someone is interested, you are not left wondering whether you imagined the connection. A man who is attracted doesn't keep you in a gray area. He may move at his own pace, but his direction is clear. Confusion, on the other hand, often comes from convenience. You fit into his life when it's easy, when he's bored, lonely, or in need of attention. In those moments, he shows warmth. When life fills up again, the warmth disappears. That inconsistency creates hope followed by disappointment. And over time, the emotional roller coaster starts to feel like passion. Many people stay in confusion because they are attached to potential. They don't respond to what is happening now, but to what could happen if the other person finally changes, finally commits, finally realizes their value. Confusion feeds that hope because it leaves the door open just enough. Attraction doesn't rely on hope, it relies on choice. Someone who likes you chooses you repeatedly, not occasionally. Another reason confusion gets mistaken for attraction is ego. Being unsure whether someone likes you can trigger a desire to prove your worth. You start doing more, giving more, tolerating more, all to reach a moment of certainty. That pursuit can feel intense, but intensity is not intimacy. Real interest does not require you to perform or earn basic attention. You are not supposed to feel like you're auditioning for a role in someone's life. Confusion also shows up when boundaries are weak. When you accept vague communication, last-minute plans, and emotional crumbs, the other person has no reason to be clear. They benefit from access without responsibility. Attraction carries accountability. If someone values you, they become aware of how their behavior affects you. They adjust, not because you demanded it, but because your presence matters to them. Emotional clarity brings calm. You may still feel excitement, but it's paired with safety. You're not afraid to speak honestly because you don't fear being discarded for having needs. Confusion keeps you quiet. It teaches you to overthink instead of communicate, to wait instead of expect, to accept instead of choose. When you look back on situations that truly mattered, you'll notice a pattern. The people who cared made space. They showed up in ways that didn't require interpretation. The ones who didn't left behind unanswered questions, unfinished conversations, and emotional tension. Confusion was never the sign that something was special. It was the sign that something was missing. Attraction is clear even when circumstances are complicated. Confusion is present even when circumstances are simple. One creates trust, the other creates doubt. One allows you to relax into yourself, the other keeps you on edge alert for the next signal, the next message, the next change in tone. Consistency reveals real interest in a way words never can, because words are easy and repetition is not. Anyone can sound interested in a moment of emotion, attraction, or loneliness, but showing up the same way over time requires intention. When a man truly likes you, his behavior doesn't change depending on his mood, his schedule, or his convenience. You don't have to wonder which version of him you're going to get today, because the version you know is the one he keeps showing you. Inconsistent behavior is often mistaken for complexity, but it usually points to uncertainty. One day he is attentive, affectionate, and engaged, and the next day he is distant, distracted, or unavailable. This pattern creates emotional imbalance. You start adjusting yourself to match his energy, pulling back when he pulls back, leaning in when he leans in, hoping to regain the connection you felt before. Real interest does not require this kind of emotional gymnastics. It creates a steady rhythm that you can rely on. Consistency doesn't mean perfection or constant availability. Life gets busy, stress happens, responsibilities increase. The difference is communication. Someone who genuinely cares lets you know what's going on instead of leaving you in silence. Even when he can't show up fully, he shows up honestly. That reliability builds trust because you're not left filling in the gaps with assumptions or fear. A man who is interested doesn't just reach out when it suits him. He doesn't disappear for days and return with charm as if nothing happened. He understands that connection weakens when it's not maintained. So he makes effort not just at the beginning, but after comfort sets in. In fact, consistency after the initial excitement phase is one of the strongest signs of real interest. Anyone can be attentive when they're trying to impress. It takes genuine feeling to remain present when there's nothing to gain, except closeness. Inconsistency often benefits the person who is unsure. It allows them to enjoy attention without commitment, affection without responsibility. They keep the door half open so they can step in and out whenever they choose. For the person on the receiving end, this creates confusion and emotional dependency. You start measuring progress by small gestures instead of steady behavior, feeling grateful for basic effort because it has become unpredictable. Consistency, on the other hand, creates emotional safety. You know where you stand. You don't feel the need to constantly seek reassurance or read between the lines. You're not questioning whether you said the wrong thing or waited too long to reply. The connection feels balanced, not fragile. That balance allows attraction to grow in a healthy way instead of being fueled by uncertainty. Patterns matter more than moments. A single thoughtful gesture doesn't outweigh weeks of distance. A passionate conversation doesn't erase repeated absence. Real interest shows up in patterns that are hard to fake. It shows up in regular communication, follow through on plans, and effort that doesn't fade the moment you relax into the connection. People often ignore inconsistency because they focus on potential. They believe that if they just wait, understand, or support enough, consistency will eventually appear. But consistency is not something you inspire in someone else. It's something they choose. When someone values you, they don't need to be taught how to show it. They naturally align their actions with their feelings. Consistency is quiet but powerful. It doesn't overwhelm you with intensity or dramatic gestures. It simply stays. And in that staying, it reveals whether interest is real or just temporary attention. Effort separates liking from politeness because effort always costs something, while politeness usually does not. Being nice can be automatic, habitual, or situational. Many people are naturally kind, respectful, and pleasant, especially in social interactions. But effort requires intention. It requires a person to invest time, energy, and thought beyond what is convenient or expected. When a man truly likes you, his actions show that you are worth that investment. A polite man may compliment you, smile, listen, and engage in light conversation. He may check in occasionally and make you feel seen in the moment. But his behavior rarely stretches beyond the surface. He doesn't rearrange his schedule, go out of his way, or sacrifice comfort to maintain connection. His kindness exists within the limits of ease. The moment effort becomes required, his presence fades. Liking, on the other hand, pushes a man to act even when it's inconvenient. Effort shows up in preparation. A man who likes you doesn't just ask to see you. He thinks about how, when, and where. He plans instead of improvising at the last minute. He considers your preferences, your time, and your comfort. Politeness may say, "Let me know if you want to hang out." Effort says, "I made time for you, and here's the plan." Effort also appears in consistency. When someone is interested, they don't just show up once and disappear. They follow through. They remember what they said. They keep promises, even small ones. They don't rely on charm to smooth over neglect. Politeness can be warm, but inconsistent, showing up when the mood is right. Effort stays steady because it is driven by choice, not impulse. Another way effort separates real interest from niceness is emotional presence. A man who likes you pays attention not just to what you say, but how you feel. He notices changes in your mood, asks questions, and listens without rushing. He doesn't shut down when conversations become meaningful. Politeness may acknowledge your feelings, but effort engages with them. It stays in the conversation even when it's uncomfortable or requires vulnerability. Effort involves risk. When a man likes you, he risks rejection, exposure, and disappointment. He puts himself in a position where his feelings are visible. Politeness avoids risk. It keeps things light, safe, and non-committal. That's why polite behavior often feels pleasant but unsatisfying. There's no forward movement, no sense of direction. Effort creates momentum because it is willing to move things out of the comfort zone. Time is one of the clearest indicators of effort. Everyone is busy, but people make time for what matters to them. A man who likes you doesn't only fit you into leftover moments. He creates space. He protects that time instead of constantly rescheduling or canceling. Politeness may offer time when nothing else is happening. Effort prioritizes time because connection matters. Effort is also shown in growth. When a man is interested, he adjusts his behavior if he sees it affects you negatively. He learns, adapts, and improves. Not because he's forced, but because he cares about how you experience him. Politeness stays static. It doesn't evolve because there's no emotional investment pushing it forward. Many people accept politeness because it feels better than nothing, but politeness without effort leads to stagnation. It keeps you in a place where things feel pleasant but never secure. Effort, even when imperfect, builds something real. It shows that attraction isn't just felt, it's acted upon. Clarity means he's serious because seriousness has no reason to hide. When a man knows what he wants, he doesn't speak in riddles or leave important things unsaid. He understands that uncertainty creates distance, and distance risks loss. So clarity becomes a natural expression of intention, not something you have to demand or chase. A man who is serious does not enjoy watching you question your place in his life. Lack of clarity often comes disguised as patience or taking things slow. But there's a difference between moving carefully and being vague. Moving carefully still includes communication, reassurance, and direction. Vagueness avoids all three. It keeps you suspended in a state of let's see, where nothing is promised and nothing is defined. That space benefits the person who wants flexibility, not the one seeking connection. When a man is serious, he is comfortable naming his interest. He doesn't hide behind ambiguity to protect his ego. He may not know every detail of the future, but he knows how he feels right now, and he shares that honestly. Clarity is not about pressure or rushing. It's about respect. It tells you that your emotions matter enough to deserve honesty. A man who avoids clarity often enjoys the access it gives him. He gets companionship, attention, affection, and emotional support without being accountable for how his actions affect you. As long as nothing is defined, he can step in and out freely. Seriousness removes that freedom. It creates responsibility, and responsibility is only embraced by someone who values what they are building. Clarity also shows up in how a man speaks about the connection to others. When he is serious, he doesn't downplay or minimize your role in his life. He doesn't introduce you vaguely or keep you separate from his world. He understands that clarity externally reflects clarity internally. If he sees you as important, that importance becomes visible. Another sign of seriousness is how a man responds to questions. When you ask where things are going or what he wants, a serious man doesn't get defensive, irritated, or distant. He sees the question as reasonable, not threatening. He may take a moment to express himself thoughtfully, but he doesn't punish you for wanting understanding. Avoidance and irritation are signs that clarity would force him to face feelings he isn't ready to act on. Clarity creates emotional safety. It allows you to relax into the connection instead of constantly evaluating it. You don't feel like you're walking on unstable ground, afraid that one wrong step will make everything disappear. Serious interest doesn't make you feel replaceable. It reassures you through openness, not through control or intensity. Many people fear clarity because they associate it with pressure or commitment too soon. But clarity doesn't lock anyone into a future they're not ready for. It simply aligns words with intentions. It says, this is where I am. This is what I want right now. That honesty allows both people to decide whether they are moving in the same direction. When clarity is missing, it's often because the person benefits from your hope more than they value your peace. They may care about you, but not enough to risk losing you by telling the truth. Seriousness prioritizes your emotional well-being over personal comfort. A man who is serious understands that clarity strengthens connection rather than weakening it. He doesn't wait for the perfect moment to be honest because he knows honesty is what creates the right moment. Priority shows where you stand because attention always follows value. No matter how busy life becomes, people instinctively protect what matters most to them. When a man truly values you, your presence influences his choices, his time, and his energy. You don't have to compete aggressively or demand space in his life. Space is made naturally when someone is important. Being a priority does not mean being the center of someone's world or receiving constant attention. It means being considered. A man who prioritizes you thinks about how his decisions affect you. He doesn't make plans that exclude you without explanation. He doesn't consistently leave you waiting while everything else comes first. Even when responsibilities pull him in different directions, he finds ways to stay connected and reassuring. When you are not a priority, patterns begin to form. Communication becomes irregular. Plans are made last minute or canceled easily. You are included only when it's convenient or when nothing else is happening. Excuses start to replace effort. You may hear that he is busy, stressed, or overwhelmed, yet somehow he still finds time for the things that truly matter to him. Priority is revealed not by what someone says, but by what they repeatedly choose. A man who values you doesn't treat your time as disposable. He understands that waiting, uncertainty, and neglect slowly erode trust. So he respects your schedule and communicates changes instead of disappearing. He doesn't assume you will always be available whenever he decides to show up. That respect is a quiet but powerful indicator of where you stand. Priority also appears in emotional availability. When you matter to someone, they don't shut you out when things get difficult. They may not have all the answers, but they allow you to be present. They share, they explain, and they let you support them. When you are not a priority, you are kept at a distance whenever vulnerability is required. You are allowed access only to the easy surface level parts. Another sign of priority is protection. A man who values you is mindful of how others treat you. He doesn't put you in situations where you feel disrespected, ignored, or insecure. He doesn't flirt openly with others or keep you in competition. He understands that protecting the connection is part of valuing it. Indifference to your emotional safety is a clear signal that you are not central in his life. Many people accept being an option because they fear losing the connection altogether. They tell themselves that patience will eventually turn into priority. But priority is not something you earn through endurance. It is given willingly by someone who sees your worth. Waiting longer does not create value. Recognition does. When a man prioritizes you, you feel it without having to ask. You don't question whether you're asking for too much by wanting consistency or reassurance. Your needs are not treated as inconveniences. They are addressed, even if imperfectly, because your feelings matter. Priority brings stability. It allows the relationship to grow instead of hovering in uncertainty. You are not constantly adjusting yourself to fit into small spaces of availability. You are not shrinking your expectations to keep someone comfortable. Being a priority means you are allowed to take up space in someone's life without guilt. At the end of the day, everyone has the same 24 hours. How those hours are used tells the truth no explanation can hide. Peace is the proof he truly likes you. Because real interest settles your nervous system instead of keeping it on edge. When someone genuinely cares, their presence brings a sense of calm rather than emotional turbulence. You don't feel like you're constantly bracing for disappointment or waiting for the other shoe to drop. The connection feels grounded, not fragile. And that steadiness is one of the clearest signs of authentic affection. When a man likes you, you are not consumed by overthinking. You're not replaying conversations in your head, analyzing tone, timing, or silence. Your mind isn't busy creating explanations for his absence or justifying behavior that doesn't sit right with you. Peace comes from predictability and honesty. You know what to expect. And even when things aren't perfect, you feel informed and included rather than left in the dark. Anxiety often gets mistaken for passion, especially in connections built on uncertainty. The highs feel exciting because they are rare, and the lows feel intense because they are confusing. That emotional swing can feel addictive, but it is not a sign of deep interest. Peace doesn't create drama. It creates safety, and safety allows attraction to grow in a healthy, sustainable way. When a man truly likes you, communication feels natural, not forced. You don't rehearse messages or hesitate to express yourself out of fear of pushing him away. You're not walking on eggshells, worried that honesty will cost you the connection. Peace exists because respect exists. Your feelings are not treated as threats. and your needs are not seen as burdens. Peace also shows up in trust. You are not constantly questioning his intentions or wondering where you stand. His actions align with his words, so doubt has no space to grow. You're not checking for signs, stalking activity, or seeking reassurance from others. The connection speaks for itself through consistency and care. A man who likes you doesn't create competition in your mind. You're not made to feel replaceable or insecure. He doesn't keep you guessing about other people or make you earn his attention. Peace comes from knowing that you are chosen, not tolerated. That sense of being chosen removes the need to compare yourself or prove your worth. Emotional peace allows you to be yourself. You don't feel the pressure to impress, perform, or constantly show your best side. You're allowed to have off days, opinions, and boundaries without fear of being discarded. When someone likes you, they want to know the real you, not a carefully curated version designed to maintain their interest. Many people stay in chaotic connections because they fear peace will feel boring. They confuse stability with a lack of chemistry. But peace doesn't remove excitement. It removes fear. It doesn't dull attraction, it deepens it. The excitement becomes rooted in trust rather than unpredictability. Peace is not the absence of challenges. Disagreements and misunderstandings still happen. The difference is how they are handled. A man who likes you addresses issues instead of avoiding them. He works through discomfort rather than creating distance. That willingness to resolve instead of escape reinforces emotional safety. When peace is present, you don't feel the urge to control outcomes or cling to reassurance. You're not trying to secure your place because you already feel secure. That inner calm is not something you talk yourself into, it's something you experience naturally through how you are treated. Peace is the quiet confirmation that effort, consistency, clarity, and priority are all present at the same time.